Looks like I've been put on the spot for the Kenya Space Agency. Why the engagement in the military? The two components, the launch is happening in a military base in the US. That's why, and again, SpaceX uses the platform that is available for them. On the question, I also tie to the defense application. All the applications that, again, they're device applications, and then Prof here will mention some of the applications. They cut across both civilian and defense applications. So whether that will be used if defense or the military or the security apparatus see a need for it, that can be used as well. Again, because the data will be available for all. There was a question also on space debris. As has been indicated, the Taifa will be launched to about 500 kilometers, and then take about 5 years. So the 5 years, because of atmospheric drag, then the altitude will keep on reducing, and then at the expiry of the 5 years, then we expect it to re-enter. So as it re-enters, then it burns down. So it doesn't, because it's small, it's not big, so it will burn down on re-entry, more or less like what happened to icons. So we will not be polluting or introducing space debris into outer space. In terms, there was a question on limitations on human capacity and infrastructure. Part of why we're having these conversations is to try and see how we can catalyze more in terms of interventions. And I'm glad that the chair of NRF is seated between our board members. I hope there are conversations that are happening in terms of how we can access more funding to the sector, because again, like I indicated earlier, we need to, and the panelists indicated, we need to put infrastructure. It is not only government that needs to do that, where we can get support from the private sector. I see my colleague here from Esri, where they're able to come in and support. We'll be happy to do that, because Esri provides software that are used for spatial analysis. Where they're able to provide that within our ecosystem, we would really appreciate allocated kids because of the capabilities that they do have. And again, we're looking at the universities to develop capacity, and that is why we have been expanding the research grants to the universities to try and see whether you can help us in that element as well. Again, also it should be more of a collective activity. On the element of telemedicine, much of what we'll be able to get from the satellite is more imagery, multispectral imagery. So it's not a communication satellite. Hopefully we'll get there in due time. So in terms of telemedicine, we'll not be able to do that. But are we able to monitor disease outbreak using imagery? Yes, we can do that, like monitoring the conditions that are usually primed for, say, mosquitoes to breed. That was an example that was given, that we can use for in the analysis, but not directly in terms of hopefully we'll get there at some point. On why we are not launching from Malindi, the spaceport has not been used. The last launch was done in 1988. So it is not in that state where it's reusable. But that is a conversation that we have in terms of how we can have that happen, whether it is at that particular site or in a different site, because this is the possibility of even launching it. As long as you have a platform, you can launch it from a container, and we are trying to explore all those opportunities and possibilities from the sector. I want to give Professor Karanja to share about the application dimension.
Okay, thank you, Charles. I think I still pursue the line of applications in medicine. The question with regard to whether one can use this kind of a satellite to get to know health infrastructure, maybe monitor certain diseases, or even monitoring access to water facilities, and the answer to that is yes, because this is an Earth observation satellite, so it is able to map this infrastructure. If there are health facilities, you can actually be able to map them. Water facilities, you can be able to map them. And from there, you can do now an in-depth analysis to establish whether, for instance, whether those health facilities are adequate or not, whether the access to the water points are adequate or not, and even whether the water itself, in terms of quality, is good enough for human consumption. So being an Earth observation satellite, it is going to help us in doing a lot of location-based, or providing us with location-based information. And of course, in addition to other data sets, now we can add value to that location information. Thank you.
Yeah, I think, in fact, if I might add to Chelsea's professors, the question on the military, I think we can remind ourselves, even the internet was pioneered by the military before it was made available to the public. The Director General announced, and the PS actually, of Defense announced, that the Space Agency put in a catalyst fund to help Kenyans, to challenge our Kenyan engineers to build a homemade satellite. So I think that is the role of government, whether it's the Ministry of Defense or not. At least they prioritize it enough to get us started, so that they can demonstrate, the opportunities for private sector and other ministries to also do the same. I hope you're well answered. And of course, then as you're monitoring animal, human diseases, I think even animal diseases, it's very useful to be able to map out things like migration patterns and to see which are all informative. So they might not be at the end user part of telemedicine, but I think it's a starting point. Let's go to the other question.
Okay. I think my question was still linked to the telemedicine and the applications it has. First and foremost, I think the realization that Earth observation, let me start. There are 5 components, 4 segments, right? So you have Earth observation, you have positioning and navigation, you have satcoms, satellite communication, and then you have astronomy and space science. And all these segments have different satellites. So Taifa 1 is an Earth observation satellite, just one segment of all the 4 space segments that are available. And very specifically, telemedicine as an application would be very reliant on the communication satellite, because you're using internet technologies and other integrated ICT services to deliver, maybe for instance, a surgery in a remote area in Wajir, for instance, via some tools or devices that can be set up, and you have maybe a surgeon in the US and they're conducting the specific medical surgery on a patient with the guidance of the external party. To do that, then it means you require communication technologies much more. The positioning communication technologies, a very good example of that in this day and age, relates to even the ones that are able to help us watch, say, a football game. Manchester United play live, and we're able to catch that. The positioning and navigational satellites relate to what we commonly know as GPS. And GPS is part of just the global navigation satellite systems. Now, that navigational aspect in the GPS is what enables us to be able to move from one point to another via various applications such as those commonly known to us, such as Uber. Now, when we come to the Earth observation space, this is a satellite that first and foremost is Earth observing. So it's launched up and it looks downwards, observing what is happening on Earth. And with that regard, very specifically to your applications you will have of trying to pull, I think we asked some of the rhetorical questions, but I believe they are very significant in this case, because it would spur that thinking towards innovation that, for instance, for a student like you, you're looking into. There's commonly talk of this One Health programs, One Health dimensions that are now coming into place. And under the One Health framework globally, you are looking at defining or understanding what affects animals, and understanding that whatever affects the environment would in turn affect animals and in turn also affect humans. So in that whole ecosystem, then you ensure that monitoring of the environment, for instance, in this case, via our Earth Observation Satellite, will be able to give us some of the indicators that speak to the status or the condition of our environment with regards to pollution, name it all. And right now, as we speak, we even have satellites that are probably just monitoring air pollution in this regards. There's very many applications within the space of One Health, and it's an upcoming domain that, as industry, we really need to look at, and as students, we really need to start looking into those kind of solutions to be able to, innovate around that. Innovating in the sense that you can be able to start thinking about some of the diseases that affect us, for instance. What explains the reason behind why cancer is very high in specific areas around Machakos? What explains that? Is it something that is environmentally castigated? Is there any linkage to what is happening with the environment so that we can be able to use this data to predict or to analyze the relationship or create that linkage, the relationship between our environment and the diseases that are affecting people? What explains some propagation of respiratory diseases in specific areas such as industrial area or around Kisumu? What explains why, for instance, this is arguably, scientists can argue about this, what really pushes or, what explains the occurrence of certain diseases such as Parkinson's, such as sickle cell, very highly in around the Nyanza regions in this country. Is it genetics? Is there something environmentally related? So there's a lot of research gaps that we actually do have, and as we speak, those are some of the areas of the industry we're looking to get into in order to be able to provide research and innovations that will very, provide early warning in cases of disease propagation or disease, understanding. And there's very many examples that we have used even at company level. For instance, to be able to support by use of this technology to support snake bites or vector disease, vector-borne disease propagation mapping to understand prevalence and to link it to some of the health facility data that you have in the country. So in a nutshell, I think there is a lot of opportunity for you there as students, especially in that health informatics space. And there's a gap that, particularly even from some of those rhetoric questions, it's really going to feed into the clarity that we need. Ideally, most of the innovations that we've seen in this earth or this globally have come from the very many questions we keep asking ourselves randomly. Why does this happen this way? And really, from even every perspective of the science of where, we're really studying the science of where, of what, of when, and of why. And really, I think I will give it at that.